Hi, folks. On this episode of the Buy Back Your Life show, I chat with the super successful and very humble Rene Masse. He is a full time real estate investor in the Kingston area, and over the decades of experience in the industry, first as a contractor and now as an investor, he has found his niche working with other investors and completing duplex and secondary suite conversions on the regular. Rene took a leap of faith and invested in himself early on in his life after university and navigated through the setbacks to achieve great heights for himself and his family. His mindset is also impressive, and he shares how the power of positive thinking is directly linked to success in your endeavors, with one of his favorite phrases being, "Our thoughts become our realities." And if you want to become a more successful investor but you're not sure where to start, check out www.tradingoptionsdaily.com and grab yourself some of the free resources that are available there to get started. That's it for the intro. Let's get into the episode. Today's show, welcoming Rene Masse out of the Kingston area. Thank you so much for being here, Rene. I am really looking forward to this conversation with you and want to hear all about what you're up to, what you got going on. But can you just give people a quick background and intro to who you are and what you do?
Thank you, Andrew. I am a full-time real estate investor based in Kingston. We do duplex conversions mostly. We get into multiplex. We got student rentals as well. We're the full package. I'm a
Full Monty.
realtor. Yeah, we're the full package. So as a realtor, I've got a renovation team and a property management team. So anyway, we're constantly working with JV partners and putting out our offers and getting stuff done. Very exciting. This is I love doing this.
So how's the sleep then? How's the sleep schedule? You get enough hours? You're probably going on like 4 or 5 hours a night then.
Of course, of course. I'm always I get plenty of sleep and I enjoy my weekends, and I only really work during the day. So 9 to 2, 9 to 3. I'm all good.
That's it, eh? Even with all that going on, you've obviously got some kind of systems that you operate with, where you have a team underneath you. If you're the main guy at the top, then
Yeah, you need a team. Without the team, it doesn't work. You need. So I got some good people backing me up, helping me out. Without the support of them, it wouldn't work. I mean, we go from the bookkeeper, the assistant, from the contractor, from the HVAC guy, electrician, the plumber. These people that we know
yeah.
that they understand what we do. So it's a team effort. It's a group effort. Anyone investing in real estate needs to understand that real estate. Sure, you can go solo on it, but it's a team effort. It's a team sport.
That's well said. I'm a big sports guy too, so I love the
Yeah,
analogy. It's great. Yeah, everybody's got a job to do. Go get the job done, and you're good to go, right?
exactly.
How did you get involved in real estate? It seems like you've been doing it for a little while now. Obviously, you have a team and you've built up some experience. But what do you
Yeah.
remember? Like the first deal you ever did?
It was 2005. I
Okay.
needed a place to stay, and
Yeah.
it was my own house. So I bought my own house, and I was thrilled with it because I didn't really have any money to buy it. And it was loan over loan, and it worked out. But I realized that it was going to become a liability. So at the time, I single man, no kids, no dependencies. So I just basically rented the upstairs to students, and I lived in the living room. And I lived like a student, but that didn't really bother me at all. And I was doing my job as a contractor. That was my background,
Okay.
contracting. So it worked out.
What type of contracting are you doing? You slinging drywall or what kind of stuff?
Well, my story goes even before that. I was a teacher. I went to Queen's University, became a teacher. They wanted me to be a French teacher. So I followed suit with that. But literally, I speak French, but I don't necessarily like to teach people how to speak French. So I didn't really care to get into that. I mean, it's a noble profession, but for
Oh, for
some
sure.
reason, I tapped into the contracting world as a university student. So I always had that freedom. And when it came down to finding work and being placed, I really wanted freedom more than security. So even though I was a teacher, the idea of pension, summers off, and benefits, it just wasn't always that appealing. So I just jumped ship early on. And was it the smartest part? No, but I wanted the freedom, and that's what I got. And rather than I jumped up, took off, jumped off the leap, and I went down. Like
Oh yeah.
it was rough for the first 2 3 years. I was
Yeah.
the most educated. I felt like I was the most educated contractor ever, having 2 degrees, and I was struggling to make things work. But I believed in myself, and I believed that I can make this work. And I understood the, the, the fundamentals of contracting, or
Love it.
fundamentals of any business in a way.
Right.
You want to do marketing, you want to do leads, sales, and then get things going. So it's been a long process. I've been at this for quite some time.
That's inspiring to hear, because I think a lot of people think you do that and go on your own. It's instant success, or they see people in the media that have instant success, and they don't see the grind that you went through over those couple of years when it sucks and it's hard and there's questioning and you have days where you're like, damn it, why did I just stay with my teaching job? I'm sure you had a couple of those stories go through your head,
Of
right?
course, always. There's always part of. I think a lot of people, they believe that the moment you quit your job, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be, no, there's other difficulties. When I was operating at a certain level, I had challenges. The challenges were different than what they are now. Now the challenges, they're still challenges, they're still obstacles, but they're still there. The obstacles and challenges are always there. This idea that they're going to disappear, they're always there. It's how you react to them. And you realize that, like they say, it's the obstacles that is the journey. That's the path, going from one obstacle to the other and overcoming those obstacles. If you're trying to avoid the obstacle altogether, you're avoiding the path, you're avoiding the journey.
Right. You gotta just go and punch fear in the face and get it done, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Just make it happen. That's interesting. When we were speaking about your first property, you said that you saw it as a liability eventually. And that's just because there's no cash flow coming in. It's draining the bank account versus adding to it. Just for people listening, that's the bigger idea. So
Exactly.
you flipped the script on that and invited some students in to party, and good to go. Now you're making some money.
Well, it was a foot in the door. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
This people often think that they need to have this perfect image of the house or the building, whatever. Just purchase something. When you purchase something, make it work and make sure that it rents out. At least you rent up the upstairs or the basement. You need to have it rented.
Yeah, even a room makes a huge difference. I remember my first property was the same kind of thing. My buddy and I were looking for a place to rent after I was done school, and I thought I can probably squeeze together a payment for like my own place. Let's just do that. And like we're both going to pay rent, so I might as well pay it to the mortgage, and then he kind of pays me a little bit extra, and that goes towards the mortgage. Or at that time, it was mostly to pops and pizza at the end of the day, but that's okay. That's you live and you learn, but it's all good.
Yeah.
That's everyone's got that story how they got started, right? Do you remember what you paid for it back in? You said 2005.
Yeah, I paid 178, and I
Oh,
overpaid for it. Let me tell you,
you say that's expensive, man.
I overpaid 178, and I overpaid for it. I remember there were no offers at the time, and when I sent out the offer, I didn't send out the offer. I wasn't a realtor at the time. They were thrilled to get an offer, and she told me, "Wow, just dip it $2,000 less, and you're fine." And so I listened to her, and I sent it out, and I got offered. They were thrilled about this offer.
Yeah.
The inspection went through. It was just so many mistakes were done. And looking back now, I overpaid for the property. The inspection was horribly done. There was a hole in the living room that was overlooked. There was a cushion in the living room.
Yeah.
On the hole, we couldn't tell that there was a hole in the living room. It was a toilet that they had put in the living room.
Oh my gosh.
It was horribly done. And it didn't matter. Now looking back, it didn't matter. I've already refinanced the property 4 times to buy 4 other properties with them.
Yeah. No, it's about, like you said, getting started, and then that spurs on more progress once you get that first one under your belt. You just once you buy one property, it just opens your eyes to what's possible. If you're never in there, it's hard to think about and see. But you have that one, and then it works. And even if it doesn't work right away, you give it a couple of years, it'll start to kind of go in your favor as long as you take care of it, and you can expand from there, which is the point of it, right?
Or sometimes it's just partnering up with the right people. Partner up with someone who knows what they're doing, who's comfortable sending out offers, who've seen thousands of places, who've gone through the road. Then it's much easier. And I tell my JV partners as well, let's do a couple deals together, then see how comfortable you are with it. And if you want to do it on your own, then go by all means do it.
Yeah.
But you need someone to lead you on, to kind of help you along the way, bring your hand over and go, yeah, this is what we're going to be doing, this is how it works. And it's not that complicated once you know, but if you don't know, there's a lot of fear involved.
Fear, and you can still get it done. You're just going to make a lot more mistakes. And it's going to cost you time and money. That's the big thing. If you go it alone, right? If you go with
Yeah,
a
yeah,
team and partners, you get there quicker. That's all. You just got to pay for it a little bit. And that's
exactly.
fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
we've made all the mistakes along the way. I can't tell you how many mistakes we've made along the way. And the people we work with, we help them avoid all the mistakes
Right.
that we've made. We've made them, we paid for them. Now it's a lot more, it's much more smoother. In fact, I was working with a JV partner, and it was flawless. It was a simple process, nothing, no big deals on it. He's like, "Do you think I'm ready to do my own?" I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this is what we do this is what we do full time. This is a
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
time job. We're not doing this on the side, on the evenings or weekends. It makes a huge difference. And we've
Sure.
got the people in place. So then it's just flawless. And then you've got a property here. You're not going to hear much about it. As long as you see the bank accounts coming in, it's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah. That's the game plan. How did you make the switch into becoming a realtor then? Or how
Oh,
long did
okay.
it take with your own property? Like you had your first one there, and then what was the progression from there?
Okay, so you got to understand, I was a contractor first, and
Yeah.
contractors, you potentially can make a lot of money spring, summer, fall, winter as a contractor. Uh, I was happy not working, and so I just took my course. I took my course 15 years ago to become a realtor. And really, I'm a realtor. I do help people find investment properties. Rarely am I a realtor for primary homes. I
Right.
focus on investments only.
Yeah, you have your specialized niche, and I think it's an easier thing to educate people on when they're looking for that kind of service as well. Like everybody or anybody can go buy a home, but if you're looking for a specific type of investment property and you can focus on that, it kind of just narrows your field of view and kind of makes you an expert in that kind of area, right?
Yeah, and with my contracting background, I've seen thousands of places. I can tell you how much, well, how long this is going to last, or if you need a new roof. I'm not giving an inspection on it, but I do have an opinion on on a lot of the places on what to look for.
I'd say an educated opinion, given your experience, right? Like
Yes.
let's put some credence in that. There's some years of experience that went into that. So
Yes.
yeah, it's a good secondary opinion, right? How many deals did you do on your own before you ended up getting a JV partner?
Oh, a lot of them. But my first JV partner was a lovely woman. She was also my mother.
Oh, nice.
That really, that really helped.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it was good timing. And my father had passed away. She had her house. She sold it off, and she wasn't getting much options and didn't know what to do. So it wasn't all that difficult to educate her on what we were going to do, because my father had started this. Um, he had invested in the 80s in Toronto and did fairly well. So she
Okay,
understood that there was a bit of backing. That was kind of my first, if you want to call it, my first coach was my father. He
nice.
spoke about mortgages. It definitely did do a different background. So yeah, my mother was my first JV. A lot of fun.
Unreal. What kind of properties you buy? Remember?
Yeah, oh yeah. So it was student rentals, because what she wanted the cash flow. And at the time, um, student rentals provided a lot of cash flow. Now it's duplex conversions or multiplexes.
Yeah, it's changed, eh? Like
Yeah.
I remember too, even around like in St. Catharines with Brock, you could when I was going there, we were paying $500 a pop, 7 guys in the house. Houses are only worth 300K, so the mortgage payment's low, right? And you're coming in with 3,500 in cash flow. You're hitting that 1% rule, like on everything. And now it's not the case given the way the prices have gone, and but the rents have gone up as well. But it's not you're not
It's
getting
not
as
the
much
same.
bang for your buck, right? You can find
Exactly.
other ways to get better
Exactly.
return.
So I talk to people about investing. I always mention the fact that you need to add value to the property. Add value through many ways. The way we love adding value to it is to add a secondary suite to it.
Can you just go into what that means for those who might not
Adding a
understand?
second, yeah, adding a secondary suite. It's basically putting a second unit in the basement, separate entrance, and these are legalized units. You see, 5, 6 years ago, the provincial government said we got to stop this urban sprawling, and to do so, we're going to increase the density of certain neighborhoods. And the best way to do so is to create these secondary units in the basement. So they have, there's certain, I mean, I have a whole video about what considers what are the criteria for a secondary suite. But generally it's, you have to have an egress window, you have a separate entrance, drywall separation, fire separation from the units. The ceiling heights have to be there. So there's, and these are permits done with the city.
Right. Yeah.
And
You
the
have to be
city's
on board.
encouraging it as well.
Yeah.
And in Kingston, they finally revised the law, the bylaw, and I think it was July 2019, and then more and more permits for secondary suites came about. And we need it. The vacancy rate in Kingston was in 2018 was, I think, 0.3%. It's still fairly low.
Yeah.
And there's more and more people coming to Kingston. So there's definitely, I mean, let's put this in perspective. A lot of people, when they start investing in real estate, they'll look at the real estate market of Canada.
Sure.
But there's no real estate market for Canada. Every area is different. And we happen to be living in a beautiful area called Southern Ontario. And when immigrants come to Canada, we need immigrants. The more immigrants, the better. This is what keeps our economy running.
Yeah.
This is what we manufacture in a way. There's 400,000 immigrants coming to Canada every year. And they're not going to, I mean, a few are going to Winnipeg. They're not going to Halifax. They're going to Southern Ontario or BC. And BC is way out of priced. So the majority of them are coming to Southern Ontario. So every year there's pretty much, I don't know, easily, there's 400 coming in the country. Let's say half are coming to Southern Ontario. That's 200,000.
Yeah.
Population of Kingston. Kingston's 130,000. More than the population of Kingston's arriving in Southern Ontario, and they're going to want accommodation. So we're not going to be seeing, these prices are not going to slow down.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I agree with you there. I love that you threw shade at Winnipeg, just because my wife's she's from Dryden, which is like 4 hours east in between Winnipeg and Thunder Bay, and I've been to Winnipeg many times, and it's cold in the winter, and it's cold year round. When I go up there, it's like, Winnipeg, we're back from the ground.
Winnipeg is one of those sweet spots. It's like 100 years ago, Winnipeg was a sweet spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you went to the west, everyone went to Winnipeg. It was the third largest city in North America over 100 years ago. And then population just died down a bit. So there's all these new buildings, and then they're locked. They've got swamp and lakes around it. So they're locked. And so it's great for flips. Let's put it this way. Winnipeg is great for flips because you've got some old house next to this big mansion. And
sure.
This is very common. But in Southern Ontario, its population increases constantly because we need it in our economy. Next point I'd like to add is, compared to the G7 nations, the G7 nations like England, States, Japan, Germany, we are lagging behind in accommodations. We don't have enough. Our economy is heavily based on accommodation, and we're lagging behind in it.
Yeah, so something's got to change, right?
There's not enough accommodation for people. So even if we do catch up, we're still going to be lagging behind on the construction. And you can only build so many houses per year.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't you can't snap your fingers and put new units in the ground, right? That's one of the reasons why these permits for like people like yourselves are in so much high demand. Like, what's easier for the municipality, to have a new like full build to go on, or just have you guys go in and retrofit a unit, right? And in terms of like the municipal staff that they have to actually go through and bylaw and check everything they need to check. Like I worked in the municipality in St. Catharines and in Niagara region, right? I've seen the process like firsthand, and it's not throwing shade at it. It is what it is, and there's limits to what they can do. And it's way easier for them to process those than to have them go in and build new complexes and apartment buildings. And there's so much more moving parts with that. Just giving people the permits, trust you guys, put the onus on you guys to do this, and then it works because you guys make a profit from it too, right? That's the system. It works for now. Let's say it works for now.
Works for now, and it works in Southern Ontario. My sister lives in the States. Where she lives, the idea of increased appreciation. She bought her house 10 years ago. It went up barely anything. So we live in a really special place in Canada, Southern Ontario, with all the immigrants and the lack of accommodation. And I don't see it changing anytime soon. So might as well take advantage of that.
Yep.
And does that mean that we're going to buy something in 10 years it's going to double in value? It's possible. That's what I tell my investors. It's possible. It's going to, what we've seen generally, appreciation, the national average is about 5%. So in Southern Ontario, I mean, in Kingston, appreciation last year was 30% or more.
Yeah.
We're not calculating that in our calculations on it. We say 5%. So let's say in 10 years, even though this property may not have increased in value, let's remove that. It's still getting paid by tenants.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are jumping into real estate for long term, for their child's education or to bump up their retirement or just to retire earlier, then it's a great source of investment. It's one of those nice assets.
100%. Like, yeah, like I like the point about the appreciation. It's kind of like I tell people, it's like a Sunday, right? The equity in the property and the mortgage pay down, and if you can do some repairs, you're putting the banana and you're putting the cream, whipped cream on top, and then some sprinkles. And then appreciation is just a nice little cherry. You just pluck on the end if you can get it. And if not, the Sunday is still good, but you just sometimes you get the cherry, sometimes you don't. You can't always count on it though, you know.
I love the analogy. I love that.
Yeah, you don't want to bank on appreciation, especially at the rates we've seen, just because it's hard to say with confidence that it's sustainable like that, right? And you can't build that in. So it's more responsible to do it the way you're doing it, which I like. I also like too, like when you're putting these properties together, you're adding value the way you are with the renovations. You're building in the profit yourself, so you're giving yourself more certainty that it's going to be cash flow positive, and you're going to be able to take equity back out. If you just were to buy and hold, then you kind of are not banking, but you're relying on the mortgage pay down for sure from tenants. You have to have good rents. You have to know the market rents, and you're hoping that the property appreciates. Otherwise, you're waiting a long time to be able to build equity and from the mortgage pay down, right?
So I agree with what you're saying here. I'll just add to this is I tell investors that there's really 3 elements to investing that we focus on. The first element is safety. So we want to make sure that our investors aren't going to lose money. It's safe. And generally, real estate tends to be on the safe side. As long as we're buying something that's below market value, something that needs a bit of work. So anything we buy has safety. Then the next element is to figure out, okay, are we going to get a high return on this? If we're going to be putting money into it, let's make sure that there's a high return. Is it going to be 8? Is it going to be double digits? Whatever. Our calculations are done even prior to buying the property. We know how much rents are, or how much we can probably rent these places. We know a bit the mortgage. We also know the after repair value. So safety is first. If we don't have safety, there's no point even focusing on the high returns. But once we get the high returns, once we get that, we know how much we're going to get. Then a savvy investor, and this is the people I work with, I love to open this concept up, is to rotate the capital like a tool. Money becomes a tool. So the first one is safety. Second one is the good returns. The third one is rotating capital. And with real estate, when you can add value to a property through a secondary suite, or there's many ways of rotating, of adding value. We like adding the suites, and you can rotate the capital, pull some of your money out and do it again.
Yeah, keep the gravy train rolling. And that's one of the things that investors are finding difficult. And you can comment on this as well, is finding that cash flow without doing those kind of renovations. If you're buying a single family home, can you still find cash flow in Kingston right now without doing the duplex conversion? Is it possible?
I wouldn't suggest it at all.
Yeah,
you need to add value to anything that is purchased.
Right.
You need to add value and then rotate the capital. The reason the rotating capital is so important is we are limited by capital. Everyone is limited by time and capital. It doesn't matter who you are, you're limited by time and capital. But the banks, they may not be limited by time, but they're not limited by the amount of mortgages they can create out of thin air. Let's put this in perspective. Canadian government bought back, basically they created money out of thin air, $2 trillion a week for the past 18 months.
Yeah.
So banks have this ability to create money out of thin air. So by rotating your capital and pulling most of your money out and leaving banks' money in, some people, it goes against their way of thinking or the way they grew up thinking you need to pay for that mortgage. technically they're not paying for the mortgage. The tenants are paying for the mortgage.
Exactly.
So by pulling your money out and utilizing elsewhere, that's really the savvy way of investing.
Could you like kind of walk through just a quick hypothetical example with some numbers, and just so people listening to this can understand what you mean when you say pulling the money out and rotating the capital, just to get an idea of how that works?
I'm just going to throw out numbers. They
Yeah,
might not be, they might not work in your neighborhood, but just to simplify it math wise. So let's say you buy a property for 430 or so, and you renovate.
Yeah.
And by renovating, it's costing you, put a secondary suite, two bedroom basement, kitchen, bathroom, and sometimes we got to dig to put the kitchen in, and the bathroom we've got to dig to put the toilet, shower in, or the tub. So that could cost. I mean, it all depends on the neighborhood, depends on how big the place is, depends on the contractors. It could cost between 70 to 100,000 to create that secondary suite. So you've bought the property for 430. You've put in, let's say, 100,000 into it. But there's an after repair value. So once you're all done with these renovations, you're able to get it appraised at a higher value. And when it's appraised, they look at the fact that you put a secondary suite in, it's a legalized suite, and they compare that building with other legalized secondary suites in the neighborhood.
Yeah, someone just comes to the house, like an appraiser comes to the property and does a walk around, takes pictures, like you said, looks at other properties in the area that are similar, and then they come up with a value, an after repair value that they would then give to the bank, correct?
That's right. Yeah. And then from there, say it turns out to be an after repair value of 600. Okay. And then, so the banks, the lenders will, because the lenders love lending out funds. This is what they do. It's the bigger the funds that the capital they lend out, the more money they make.
That's right.
So
give me that interest
say,
payment.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the system. It works to our advantage. So we're trying to maximize this whole idea. So if it gets appraised at 600, and then they're always giving out 80% loan to value. So that becomes a mortgage of 480. So the difference between the first mortgage or the first phase of the first mortgage and the second mortgage is really the money that we get back.
In that example, you put in your construction cost of 100K. You got the property for 430, so you're up around 530. You get appraised at 480. So you're right through. You put 100K in, you get 50K back of the deal. That's somewhere in that ballpark, right?
Either way, we're always trying to get funds back into it. The numbers change depending on the deal, the amount of work that's being done. There's really three numbers that we really look at intensely. Purchase is after repair value, renovation cost, and then the purchase price.
Right. Yeah, if you can buy it,
rents play a huge factor as well, but those are the first 3 months.
And so when you're doing these kind of projects, you obviously want to make sure, and I think one of the reasons you do them is because you get your capital back, but then after you have that secondary suite in there, your rents for the property, you now have 2 units versus 1. So 2 different income streams, and a little bit of protection there. If one tenant does decide to vacate, you're not left filling the whole property. You have another one in the basement or wherever, but you get increased cash flow to carry that property and to pay for the mortgage and the property tax and insurance and all the other things, versus having just one person renting that property for considerably less in most cases, right? So there's more protection there as well.
There's definitely more protection. You're minimizing risks. And the cash flow needs to be there. Now, are we going to be rich on the cash flow? No. The cash flow is there to minimize the risk. Say the washing machine fails. Well, at least there's there's money that's coming out of this property. It's generating income, so that way it can cover certain unforeseeable expenses. But I'm quite confident, I've got conviction that after 5 years, that deal is going to be fine. It's going to appreciate much higher. It's going to be paid down by the tenants, and then there's always a bit of cash flow at the end of the year. But the notion of living off the cash flow, it's possible, that's with numerous deals.
I was just going to make that point. Like after we get to the end of this process, you take that capital that you pulled back out,
Yep.
and you go do it again, right? And
Yep.
you just that's how you build up a substantial portfolio over time. And that is, from what I've seen, that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. Like actively building these secondary suites, you can't just buy and hold and just park your capital and build up a portfolio of hundreds of doors, right? It's very difficult to do. You have to have deep pockets to be able to do
It
that.
seems wasteful as well. It's
Yeah,
not the way
yeah.
savvy investors work. The
Yeah,
idea of parking your capital there and just leaving it there. You want to rotate the capital.
into something, whether it's other
Consistently.
properties or different assets, make it work for you, right? Pull that equity
Yep.
out and get it moving. Yeah, that's interesting. And so you have your own team then that you do this with.
Yep.
Like you have the contractors under you, you have you're a realtor as well. So I'm sure you.
Well, I started off as a contractor.
Yeah.
Like I was a teacher, but then when I jumped ship, I became a contractor. And so I've been a contractor for 30 years. I've had the contracting team for 30 years.
Okay.
I've got one guy who's
Okay.
been with me for 10 years.
So that was an easy part of this to piece together. You had that in place already when you did this whole real estate thing.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I didn't
Yeah.
realize how knowledgeable. Yeah, you gained a lot of experience by doing some of the work. And that when I first started off, I was involved with the work. But now at this point, most of my work involves finding good deals and talking to investors.
Yeah, can you go into how you do that? Like what's your strategy? What's your method for actually locating these types of properties that you're targeting?
Well, we work with wholesalers. We're on wholesale lists. I've got a guy who's focuses on Kingston as well. Then I'm in contact with a couple realtors, but we see things on MLS as well. We put the word out. Right now, it's a very hot market. So everyone's bidding a lot on it.
Same over here in
Yeah,
Niagara. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
So there's that aspect of it. And then there's the aspect of talking to investors who want to get in. We educate them on how it's going to work. And we show them some opportunities, and we show them the process how we work from A to Z on how we first acquire the property to what we're going to be doing with it.
And so when a partner comes on and like on boards with you guys,
Yep.
Their requirement is just capital at that point, and you guys take care of everything else, and that's the way it goes.
They need to be able to acquire a mortgage.
Okay, they hold the mortgage as well.
Yeah, they hold the mortgage as well.
And that just with, do you have a list of lenders that you like to use, or how did you build up that relationship so you know that you're going to get approved?
I've got a couple mortgage brokers. A few are independent, and one's with CIBC. So generally, what we do is we speak to people and find out what they're looking to do. If they're looking to invest, really, the vast majority of people I work with, they want to have funds for their children's education.
Yep.
They want to pay down their house, or they want to retire earlier. That's kind of the vast majority of people. So we try to find out exactly how we're going to help them out. And so there's a questionnaire that we send out, and in that questionnaire, we find out exactly where they're at financially now and where they want to be in 5-10 years or so. Generally 5 years.
No, that's important for sure.
From there, then we speak with them and see if we can help them out. And if we want to make sure that they understand what they're getting involved, but we want to make sure I've people who want to retire on the cash flow in the next 5 years. I mean, it's possible, but it's I don't really guarantee. I don't tell that anything. I don't mention that to people.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. It's possible, and some people will tell you this, but no, I tell them the cash flow is there to minimize the risks. Simple as that.
Yeah, and it's there for a reason. Like you're going to have these expenses that come up, and things are going to break down. You need to have a minimum of amount of money in the account just to pull from to go and fix that dryer or to fix the pipe that bursts and leaks. And those things will happen if you're in real estate long enough. And if it hasn't happened to you yet and you're in real estate, you're lucky. It's probably coming, or you just haven't been in it long enough. You're just getting started. So I'm sure
Exactly.
you have stories about that too, but
Tons of stories. Yeah.
yeah,
So investors need to understand what they're getting involved in, and they're in it for the long term. The idea of, I think everybody wants, the analogy that I often use is the analogy, the baseball analogy. Everyone wants the home run. They always want all of a sudden the $1,000 a month cash flow coming in, amazing tenants, and you pull all their money out. Is it possible? Yeah, we've done it in the past, but every single deal, no, in the different markets, it's not going to happen.
yeah,
So, but those who play it long term and say, let's jump in now with the belief that it's going to be better in the future, and we're not going to live off this, but we can easily down the road pay down our mortgage quicker or pay for our child education. Those are the best. Those are the best investors.
yeah. Like I think if you, it's well said, and I think it's important that you identify this early on, and that it makes the partnership on your end easier. Ultimately, if you understand and you guys have kind of common goals and you're working towards similar kind of objectives. But if you have a house now yourself, right, and you're paying down the mortgage yourself, if you could get someone else to pay that down for 20 years, wouldn't you do it? Like that's kind of what it's like. It's just as simple as that. Like that's basically what we're doing. Like just go have someone do that for you.
Simple, but not easy.
No, definitely not easy.
In like most things in life, it's a simple process.
Yeah.
But doing it, and so I also coach people. People have reached out to me and asked a lot of questions. So now I help. I only coach a certain amount of people every year, and I realize that sometimes people have such negative perspective on things. So they expect the worst. So there's people that I said, well, just delegate the property management to somebody else. We go, oh,
Sure.
but the cost and all that. But I mean, that's going to hold you back. I mean, aren't you going to be thinking about that? Or it's easy to see the negativity of the real estate, and it holds people back from actually taking action.
Yep. Yep.
So I suggest often is to minimize those negative comments that you have in your head, and make sure that it's based on facts.
Sure.
Our tenant's not going to pay? It's possible, but minimize that risk. Simple as that.
Yeah. And if you do have those and valid concerns, right? I find if you just write out your biggest concerns on paper and just spend like 5 minutes writing down what you could do to solve this problem, it goes a long way into just giving yourself the confidence to then push forward and seeing it as it's not that big of an issue. Like you said, if tenants don't pay, what do? Well, you can call a property management company, or you do the research, or you can reach out to Rene and figure it out and get some advice pro bono.
There's many ways. Although I find a lot of people, any problems becomes difficult, and they exaggerate it to the point where it's not even realistic anymore. And so I really believe that curbing, it's the post. Remember the post I did about thoughts? Our thoughts become a reality.
Yeah.
So if people are focused on the negative, then you're going to get more negative, and actually some of it's going to come true. But if you're focusing on the possibilities or what you can do to fix it, well, then you're far better off, and you're more likely to take action. So when I do coach people, some of them are taking action. It's great. Others are held back by certain things. And the number one thing is fear. They're always held back by fear of what's going to happen in this. And I'm like, buddy, you haven't even done anything yet. Like, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
Just go out and do it. Is it going to be successful all the time? No. I'm just going to let you know. It's not going to be successful all the time. But the other side of success, the coin of success, the other side of it is failure.
Yeah.
There's nobody who had success without failure. It's to avoid failure. Well, you're avoiding success.
That's a tough way to live if you're doing that all the time. Yeah, and that post that you put out was great, and it made me think back to when I first like understood that concept and actually applied it in my life and like put down my like first like big goal, and then I look at it every day, and just because it was on my mind, I was like, I want to retire by 40. That was my goal. Like I don't care if it's 40, if it's 40 or if it's 41, but like just get it on paper and go for it, and then. It's weird because you just start thinking about it more and your brain flips a switch and you think it's possible. So now you start thinking about ways you can make it happen. You see different opportunities that you didn't see before because you're so closed off and you didn't think it was a reality, right? So that's such a huge thing that people don't understand. Like
it's a huge shift,
Massive.
So really
Massive.
it comes down to believe. believing. And there was I remember being a contractor, and this was a client, very well off client. And in the backyard, they had a sign said believe. And at the time, I just didn't get it. I didn't understand how important it is to believe on the dreams, believe on the goals. Some would even call it faith. Faith because it's not quite realized yet, but you need to believe that it's possible. And once you start believing it, the next step is making sure your mind, your thoughts are aligned with what you're looking to build. Your emotions are going to get involved in that, because that's emotions, emotions and thoughts go along, and you're excited about the future. But if people are thinking about the negative or the obstacles, or thinking about all the problems they're going to have, well, they're looking a couple feet. They're not looking a couple yards out.
Yeah.
You need to look further out.
Yeah.
And then you're able to achieve the goal. And it's unfortunate that some are focused on the obstacles and the problems and the challenges, and that's what holds them back from doing any action. So it's believing. That's what it starts off with. It's believing, having faith in yourself and that it could work out. Your thoughts are aligned with that. Your emotions are aligned with it. And then guess what? Then you take action.
That's right. So well said. So well said. You must have read Think and Grow Rich at least once by Napoleon Hill. That book kind of did it for me.
More than once. I mean, it's in there.
Yeah.
The secret to success and happiness have already been written. It's already there. Just follow it. We just need to follow it. It's not more knowledge or another course, or it's not that. It's simply believing it and having the discipline, or focusing on what you want. And sometimes people focus on too much.
Sure.
You know the analogy about it was a guy looking for gold or oil, and he starts digging one area, it wasn't there, and he starts digging elsewhere, it wasn't there. He moved and moved, and ultimately he had 20 holes. But if he had just dug deep enough, he would have found the gold and the oil.
That's right.
So you need to focus on it and be persistent and go on with it. It's a long journey, and then be disciplined with it. And then there's, the success and happiness are there.
And there's still trials along the way. I'm not going to say that's easy, but it's the payoff at the end is so sweet, man. Holy cow.
Just like I said, it's simple concept, but it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Not easy to implement. I did bring it back to real estate. It's like, if you focus on the negative stuff, like you said, like paying a property manager to do something, you're going to let like a couple $100 a month get in the way of potentially like a couple $100,000 over 20 years. And like, not exaggerating numbers, but like if there's appreciation and you build it over 20 years and you have mortgage paid on over that same time, like you're looking at $100,000, $200,000, depending on the property. And you're going to let that go to waste because you're not going to pay a property manager $300 and you're scared. Yeah. And you just don't want to offload that tax. It's crazy.
Or the worst part of it is people who do invest in, and it's great that, they eventually they hook up with a good realtor, who they buy investment property, and then they're there their weekends, and they're there on the evenings, and it puts stresses on their family, and then also they're having difficulties with the tenants, and then they go, real estate's not for me, you can't make any money on that, and then they just bar it off. It's unfortunate, because if they just partnered up with the right individual, and it would have been a smooth ride from there, and that one deal would have led to a second, to a third, to a fourth.
Yeah.
And sure, they probably wouldn't have had all the pie, but as like one of my investors said, you're better off having half of something than half of nothing.
That's right.
Or full of nothing, basically.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. All of nothing. Yeah.
All of nothing.
Right. And that's why the JV partners make so much sense, because you're bringing the knowledge to the table and the expertise and the experience, and they're bringing the ability to finance a property and hold the property, but you're walking them through it, holding their hand, getting them up and running. And then, man, I'm sure once people see it done once, it's just like their mind gets blown and they just want to keep coming back to the well forever, right? That's like, why wouldn't you want to do that? And this goes for real estate, like we're talking about, but other wins in investing as well, like in fitness. So like if you have something that works and you're working with a good coach and mentor, like, why wouldn't you do that again? Keep the success coming in. Like it's addictive.
Want them to win. I want them to win.
Yeah.
Like we're business partners in this. When they win, I win. And I tell my investors all the time, it's only when you're making money that I'm making money.
That's right.
I'm not making money until you get all your money back.
That's right.
It's a good situation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome, man. That's great. And you're just investing in Kingston? Is that the primary focus, or did
We're
you do
looking at
other
other
places as
we're looking
well?
at other places as well, but our team is in Kingston. But typically, there's a lot between you and I, Andrew. There's cash flow. There's still cash flow in Kingston.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
still a lot of cash flow. There's still opportunities in Kingston.
There's we got a couple friends who live in that area, and like they say like Queen's University is just always booming, and there's kids everywhere, and the town is a beautiful place too. I've only been there like a handful of times down by the waterfront there, but like it's gorgeous, man, and the city's well laid out. Like I love visiting there a lot, and it's a good scene, so it makes sense that it's a place people want to go. It's kind of in between Toronto and Ottawa, kind of in the middle as well, a good stop off point. So a lot of perks.
I was born and raised in Toronto, and I went to Queen's University, stayed in Kingston. And when I discovered Kingston, I was amazed with it. I didn't want to go back. Every other student, I was in first, second year, at university, they all wanted to go to Toronto. I said, you could have Toronto. I've been there. I grew up with it. It's good. It's pleasant, but there's beauty in Kingston.
Yeah.
You can see the waterfront. There's lakes everywhere. There's a better. I find it's a better living conditions.
Yeah. A little less congested, a little more serene. It's nice. Score Pizza downtown. Shout out Score Pizza, one of my favorite spots there.
Yeah, good spot. Good spot.
Love.
I just had some pizza last week from there.
Yeah, I love that spot. They actually opened one in St. Catharines too, like just after the pandemic started. It was like actually my wife and I were talking about opening up a franchise in St. Catharines. We're like, we had it in Kingston, like it was the best. Like I'm like, this is like Subway for pizza. We got beers in line while we had the pizza being made. This is amazing. Yeah. And they're like, what's the franchise cost? And we didn't have the funds at the time to do it. And we have no experience in that industry. So we have to have a coach of some kind, right? But then lo and behold, soon enough, there's a Score Pizza in St. Catharines now. It's unreal. Unreal.
I like to hear that story because you saw the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't see opportunity in that. And the next step is obviously once you see opportunity, then jumping at the opportunity. I speak to a lot of people who they miss opportunities one after another because they're waiting for that perfect opportunity that it has to be on a plate given to them. It's not going to happen that way. And once you see one opportunity and you create that one opportunity, then others come about.
100%. You just have to know what to look for. You can apply that across many different areas in your life, which is amazing. So what do you got planned for the future then, Rene? What's on tap? You gonna buy up all of Kingston, bring the Toronto Maple Leafs to Kingston, and replace the Frontenacs down by the water there?
You're funny. I really do enjoy this. This is a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
The idea of retiring for me is this. I'm already retired. I already feel as if I'm putting the time in what I like to do. I like to talk to people, help them out by either coaching or investing with us. And as long as I'm growing and having fun, it's all part of it. So there's an analogy, since I've been in business for over 30 years, when you grow personally, your business grows as well. My business grows, I grow. It goes hand in hand. So it's all about growth. It's all about having fun and helping others.
Awesome. That's so true. You level up yourself and you have to bring other people up around you. It's infectious, right? And you can spill over what you've learned and just teach people other things, and little tidbits just go a long way. It's incredible. Any good books you've read lately? Picking your brain. Self-improvement, power thinking.
Here's a book recently I just read. I picked it back up. Let's put it this way. It's called The Stroke of Insight.
Stroke of Insight.
Stroke of Insight. It's an unfortunate situation that happened to a neuroscientist. She got a stroke in her left hemisphere, and she lost the capability of. She lost that small talk in our minds,
Okay.
But she gained this connection with the universe, or she gained this peace. She gained this ability to connect with others. And she was lucky enough to regain the powers of her left hemisphere and write about the experience and tell us what she gained from that unfortunate accident.
Interesting.
I'm going to very powerful.
Check that.
Stroke of Insight.
Check that one out.
If you see, she was interviewed by Oprah, and that's how I discovered the book. And there's a chapter, I think page 159, 160. It puts such importance on the power of words. She says, really, you need to be careful of what you tell yourself on a regular basis. That self-talk
Oh yeah.
is
Yeah.
really a reflection
Huge.
of your outer world.
Huge. Yeah. So your personal narrative in your mind can carry you upwards, downwards, keep you in the same spot. It's important. It's yeah, positive thinking, positivity in life is just, they go hand in hand. And that's why successful people always seem to just have everything figured out, because they're always got that positive attitude. Like, I can do this, I can do that, I can figure it out, right? Just give it to me, I'll figure it out somehow.
Yeah, and I've had the, I mean, some people see my situation and they go, well, it's easy for you to say that. Yeah, but I've had the difficulties.
Yeah.
I just didn't harp on them.
Well,
I didn't focus on them and go, oh, this happened, this, and this. I'll justify my situation because of this, or whatever it is. We all have had shit that happens to us.
Yeah.
But move on, let it go.
That's right.
And focus on building the life that you want to do.
That's right. I missed a shot in basketball. I was a big basketball player back in high school and university, whatever. I missed a shot, 2-foot shot at the rim. Gotta go play defense, man. You can't just sit there and like wait for it to go back. No one's gonna give the ball. Let's go.
How many times did Michael Jordan miss the shot? He missed thousands of shots.
Yeah.
But he missed. He also got some shots in there. It's all part of it.
Just a couple. He was pretty good. He was pretty good. Cool. Renee, thank you so much. Excuse me for coming on today. And I really appreciate your insight and your viewpoint. Sometimes it's hard to find people who share similar kind of ideas of way of thinking. And I think you've got a great one. So I just thank you so much for sharing that today. If people do want to get a hold of you, if there's some people out there in Kingston listening to the show that want to connect, where can they find you? Where can they track you down?
On Facebook, Rene Masse. Just Google my name, Rene Masse. Everything's there. Everything will come up.
The Google page, you're going to flood in. You're going to get all the investors in Kingston come looking for you. I got one or two buddies who might give you a call, might chat you up a bit. Yeah, they're looking to get in.
As an extrovert, I love to connect with others and see where they're at and see how I can help them out. If it's coaching or investing, either way, I'm here to help.
Cool. Love it. Thanks again, Renee. And we'll chat again soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Rene Masse and his incredibly uplifting story of how he created the systems and teams to invest in real estate full time. Rene preaches self-belief as a main factor in success, and I have to agree with him. Your thoughts and ideas about what you can and can't achieve set the bar for how things are going to work out in your life. And I very much look forward to chatting with Rene again and learning even more about his incredible outlook on life. And if you like this episode or previous episodes, consider leaving a review of the Buy Back Your Life show. I really appreciate getting your insights on the content so far, and it would also help the show to grow, I hope. That's it for this episode. Keep investing in yourself.